This might be the biggest blunder that Time has made in regards to their Time Person of the Year since 1938, when they named Adolf Hitler as the Time Person. It might be just that bad. Well, guess what? We found out that Time has made Taylor Swift their Person of the Year. This is an award that's been given to Winston Churchill, Harry Truman, a list of other great men who led nations and people through times that were difficult, who defeated tyrants, who led men in war. This is not an award for a woman who sings songs about vanity, about short-term dating relationships, sex she liked with one guy and didn't like it with the other. Vanity epitomized. That is not what Time Person of the Year is for. That is not what this award, that's not what this honor is about. But yet we live in 2023, a time of complete madness, of complete chaos, and the West utterly destroying itself. Today we read some of the excerpts. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I'm just going to go through a couple excerpts from the article that Time put out. Their West Coast, I believe it's their, the West Coast editor at Time, Sam Lansky. I'm going to go through some of the portions of the article that this is an interview that he had with Swift in her New York home. I'm just going to go through a couple of these different things. And I quote from Lansky, "Swift's accomplishments as an artist, culturally, critically, and commercially, are so legion, to recount them seems almost beside the point. As a pop star, she sits in rarefied company alongside Elvis Presley, Michael Jackson, and Madonna." Absolute nonsense. And he continues, "As a songwriter, she has been compared to Bob Dylan, Paul McCartney, and Joni Mitchell." That is complete, utter nonsense. Complete, utter nonsense. I don't like Paul McCartney, to be very clear, and we can go into that in a later video. I do not like Paul McCartney, but I can tell you right now, when it comes to songwriting, the competition was over before it began. Michael Jackson, are you kidding me? You're going to compare Taylor Swift to Michael Jackson? Elvis Presley, the war hero, the veteran. I'm going to leave it at that. That is absolute absurdity. This might be the biggest blunder that Time has made in regards to their Time Person of the Year since 1938, when they named Adolf Hitler as the Time Person. It might be just that bad. Lansky goes on to say, "As a businesswoman, she has built an empire worth, by some estimates, over $1 billion, and as a celebrity, who by dint of being a woman," oh God, here we go again, "is scrutinized for everything, from who she dates to what she wears. She has long commanded constant attention and knows how to use it." Now, that last part of that sentence is true. Very unfortunate. In quotations, he puts, "I don't give Taylor advice about being famous. Stevie Nicks tells me she doesn't need it. But this year, something shifted. To discuss her moments felt like discussing politics or the weather, a language spoken so widely it needed no context. She has become the main character of the world." This is an unfortunate reality. It is the rising of a cult. Look at the young women. Look how they idolize her. It is beyond the cult culture we see in sororities on public college campuses. It is beyond the insanity that we see there. It is by far the most prolific cult in the U.S. today. Now he tries to create some grandeur of Taylor Swift by saying, if you're skeptical, consider it. How many conversations did you have about Taylor Swift this year? How many times did you see a photo of her while scrolling on your phone? Were you one of the people who made a pilgrimage to a city where she played? Did you buy a ticket to her concert film? Did you double tap on an Instagram post or laugh at a tweet or click on a headline about her? No, I didn't. Here's the outrageous part. He's talking about all these people who love her, who adore her. We're going to go on to one of the most outrageous parts of this whole deal. In this article, Lansky goes on to continue. There are at least 10 college classes. 10 college classes. College is already worthless at this point. Public colleges and the Ivy League institutions who have become poison ivy. There are at least 10 college classes devoted to her, including one at Harvard. The professor Stephanie Burt, a liberal whack, tells Time she plans to compare... Get ready for this. Plans to compare Swift's work to that of the poet William Wordsworth. Wordsworth was one of the greatest literary masters of all time, certainly of the West, certainly of the English language. And somehow, you're going to compare Taylor Swift and her petty vanity and her meaningless, short-term fickle relationships for distracting and, I dare say, corrupting the minds of the youth? It wasn't legitimate in Socrates' case, but I think it's legitimate in hers. You're going to compare him to her? Outrageous. I'm going to put in the link to this video. There is a link to the Poetry Foundation, to William Wordsworth's the dedicated page. You can read an article about him. You can also look at all his different works. You can read some actual literary masterpieces and not the absolute steam of crap that Taylor Swift has put on the world stage. I mean, she has never written anything like London 1802, Ode of Duty, Nutting, Mutability, November 1806, October 1803. There's nothing that even compares at all. We're going to move on. He goes on to say, friendship bracelets traded by her fans at concerts became a hot accessory, with one line in a song causing as much as a 500% increase in sales. I don't care if you're selling something that's meaningless. If you are spreading a narrative that is false, if you are a public figure that has a rodeous character, I don't care if it increased sales. I don't care if it contributes to the economy. What you're selling is nonsense. What you're selling is false. What you're selling has been corrupted. Now we're going to get to the real good part. When Swift started dating Travis Kelce at the Kansas City Chief and two-time Super Bowl champion, his game saw a massive increase in viewership. Yeah, with people who don't actually care about football. And once they break up, because it might happen, it probably will, because she's been with 9 or 10 different people. Let's go through the list of people she's been with. Let's go through the list. Drew Dunlap, Jordan Alford, Drew Hardwick, Sam Armstrong, Joe Jones, Taylor Lautern, John Mayer, Adam Young, Jake Gyllenhaal. Man, he knew he made a mistake. And on down the list. We can keep on going. Now there's Harry Styles, Calvin Harris, on and on and on, blah, blah, blah. Guess what? I'm not holding my breath for this relationship. And when it ends, all those people are going to move on to the next thing. They're not going to be watching the NFL anymore. Let's keep going. Yes, somehow she made one of America's most popular things, football, even more popular. Yeah, and like I said, they'll be gone. And then there's her critically hailed songbook, a catalog so beloved that as she releases it, she's often breaking chart records she herself set. She's the last monoculture left in our stratified world. Man, if that's the case, we're screwed. Now I want to get to something really critical here. Greta Gerwig. If you don't know who Greta Gerwig is, she's the director of the complete steaming pile of excrement called Barbie, the movie that came out this past year. I mean, it used to be a great doll for girls toy. It was around for many decades. Now it has been destroyed by this woman. And Greta Gerwig likes to say, Swift is many things on stage, vulnerable and triumphant, playful and sad, but the intimacy of her songcraft is front and center. Okay. Her work as a songwriter is what speaks most clearly to me, says filmmaker Greta Gerwig, whose feminist Barbie was its own testament to the idea that women can be anything. End quote. To write music is from the deepest part of herself and directly speak into the souls of other people. As Swift whips through the eras, she's not trying to update her old songs, whether the earnest romance of You Belong With Me, or the millennial song 22. So much as she is embracing them anew. Here's the point that the feminist filmmaker says about Taylor Swift and is most revealing. She is modeling, get this, radical self-acceptance on the world's largest stage, giving the audience a space to revisit their own joy or pain, once dismissed or forgotten. The first few words say it all. She is modeling radical self-acceptance. It comes back to the same problem, the appeasement of the individual will. And that's what her songs are about. They're about pleasing me. What do I want? How do I feel? It's all about me. It's all about my erotic relationships. That's what it's about. It's about my vanity, how I feel, what I want. So go look at one of her songs here for a second. And if you're a Christian, by the way, and you listen to this to this woman, you ever heard the song "You Need to Calm Down"? You should go take a look at that music video. We're gonna look at that here in a bit. Not in this video. In another video coming out soon. And if you're a Christian and you claim to be one, and you believe in Judeo-Christian values at all, and you watch this steaming pile of crap, you need to do some self-reflection. Let's look at another song of hers, "Style," where she mentions this sort of relationship she's in with this young man. And she has a line in the chorus, the first line of the chorus, "You got that James Dean daydream look in your eyes." Any of you know who James Dean is? James Dean was an actor. He starred in a film called Rebel Without a Cause in 1955. One of the worst movies ever created. It's about this young man who has no purpose in life. He's lost. He's trying to find his way. He goes about, and he's a rebel. A rebel without a cause. It's precisely what the movie proclaims it to be. He's a man with no direction. And that speaks to the young men in our culture today. They have no direction. They have no cause. They have nothing to fight for because they've been effeminized. We'll talk about that later. And I think it's revealing that time chooses the person of the year to be a woman who writes about vanity in her songs, who mentions this person she's with as James Dean, who is the man, the rebel without a cause. I think it's very revealing of where we are in society today. We'll continue on. She tells me about the Revisiting Reputation, which is perhaps the most charged era of the tour. It's a goth punk movement of female rage at being gaslit by an entire social structure. She says, laughing, "I think a lot of people see it, and they're just like 6 snakes and strobe lights." Yeah. And guess what? I was forced to go. I was forced to go to a Taylor Swift concert. Horrific. It was absolutely horrific. There was a younger member of my family, I won't say who because that's not fair, and she wanted to go to this for her birthday a number of years ago. It was in Chicago. And it was terrible. And I can tell you from firsthand experience, yes, it was 6 snakes and strobe lights. It's precisely what it was, and nothing more. The upcoming vault tracks for Reputation will be fire, she promises. The recordings project feels like a mythical quest. I'm collecting Horcruxes from Harry Potter. I never got into Harry Potter. Apparently it's from Harry Potter. And she says, "I'm collecting Infinity Stones. Gandalf's voice is in my head every time I put out a new one. For me, it is a movie now." Don't bring Gandalf into this. Don't bring a character from one of the greatest novels of all time. Don't do that. You're not a Tolkien. Okay, you can't speak. You don't have the vernacular of Tolkien. You don't have the craftsman of Tolkien. Don't bring his characters in this. Just don't. We're gonna continue. She must have known that all the this is Lansky continuing on. She must have known that all the references she had made had hidden meaning. That I'd see all the toss-off details for the Easter eggs they were. The way she told me that story about Chesney, she knew there was a lesson about the power of generosity and how crushing defeat can give the way for a great surprising gift. She's going through all these different experiences she's had in her life. She's going through all these different difficulties she's had as a songwriter and all the things she went through. Just so oppressed and went through so much hardship and so on. And she uses this sort of rhetorical way of saying, "Are you not entertained?" Referencing from the sort of referencing the Gladiator. And I just have to say, don't quote Russell Crowe. I think you have offended the spirit of the man Russell Crowe by tacitly trying to say, "Are you entertained by all the things I've done?" No, I'm not, and nor should anybody else be. With Lansky trying to say, "Are you not entertained?" Surely we both knew it was a quote from Gladiator, a movie in which a hero falls from grace, is forced to perform blood sport for the pleasure of spectators, and emerge victorious, having survived humiliation and debasement to soar higher than ever. Don't compare yourself to a gladiator. Don't compare yourself to Russell Crowe. You're nothing even close to Russell Crowe. Here's what I'm trying to get to today. Taylor Swift, I'm asking you individually, what have you done for society, positively? What have you done that compares to Churchill, that is on the level of Truman, that is on the level of Donald Trump, that is on the level of anybody who has received this honor, that anybody who's been on this list of long-standing leaders who changed the world, done radical things? What have you contributed to society? You wear lingerie on stage with a garter to elicit sexual responses. You create albums, as you say yourself, it's an album about female rage and trying to raise up the female population in this wrongful rebellion against social norms. What have you positively contributed to society? Nothing. You've contributed vanity. You've contributed hardship. You have contributed so many negative things into our culture. And so with that, time, this is the biggest blunder we've ever made. I mean, probably not as big as Adolf Hitler in 1939. I'm not comparing Swift to Hitler at all. That was probably a bigger blunder, but this is probably second to that. Probably the second biggest blunder you've ever made in your entire existence. Horrific, terrible. Guess what, Taylor? You're not Michael Jackson. You're not Paul McCartney. You're not William Wordsworth. You're none of these things that people want to compare you to. I don't care that you had a 500% sales increase at craft stores. I don't care that you're dating Travis. I don't care that you brought more viewership to the NFL. I don't care that you're friends. I think it's very revealing you're friends with a feminist movie maker. All these things point to the kind of character that you have. It's erroneous, filled with vanity, meaningless. It points to somebody who is not worthy of this at all. And with that, I ask you to respond. What have you contributed? Can you correct me? What have you contributed positively to society?